And we begin with breaking news from the White House. Just moments ago, we brought you President Donald Trump announcing from the White House and the Oval Office, sitting beside the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, his new positions, his new policies on the relationship with the Kremlin and the White House. Also, an announcement of how he's moving forward to bring an end to the war between Russia and Ukraine. So on the economic front, the president says he's giving Vladimir Putin 50 days to come up with a deal. Otherwise, he's going to hit the Kremlin with a series of sanctions and secondary sanctions that would, secondary tariffs that would impact their neighboring and partnering countries. On the military front, a huge deal has been reached between the White House and NATO. The United States is going to submit billions of dollars worth of weaponry to NATO. NATO is going to distribute it to Ukraine to use in their war defense effort, and all of it is going to be paid by NATO. Let's see what else the president had to say.
The purpose of this is to say that this is a very big deal we've made. This is billions of dollars worth of military equipment is going to be purchased from the United States, going to NATO, etc. And that's going to be quickly distributed to the battlefield. Ukraine will take it up. And, you know, say what you want about Ukraine. When the war started, they had no chance. And they still would have had no chance if the equipment, they had the best equipment, because we do make the best planes and missiles, and we make the best military equipment in the world by far.
Okay, so on that front of how they're moving forward with the military and economically with the tariffs, this is a major about-face for the U.S. president, who up until this point has been quite friendly and even sympathetic with the Russian president. So let's dive deeper into this story with CBC's Anna Cunningham, who's been following all the details and developments for us from London. Anna, what else stood out for you from what we heard from both the president and the NATO chief today?
Natasha, I think this is extraordinary, really. If you think about it, a real about turn by the US president. And I think what we have possibly just witnessed is President Donald Trump coming to the end of his tether, really, with Vladimir Putin, the Russian president. He said that he thought they were on the brink of a deal with Russia, between Russia and Ukraine, to end the war about 4 times. And President Trump saying that he was really disappointed in President Vladimir Putin, and he thought a deal could have been done 2 months ago. And the way he framed this is, look, now, it couldn't be simpler. The deal now has been done with NATO. US weapons will be in Ukraine, purchased by NATO, supplied to Ukraine, paid for by Ukraine's allies, European nations. The NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte mentioned Canada, saying that Canada was agreeing to this as well. So the payment of those weapons, US weapons, now going to find themselves on the battlefield in Ukraine. And what Donald Trump said is that they were going to be sending top-of-the-line weapons. And he said, we've made this deal today, and NATO is going to be paying for it, not the American taxpayers covering the cost. He did go on to say that this war has got to stop. But I think we are talking here about billions of dollars worth of military equipment. On the situation with tariffs on Russia, take a listen to this.
We are very unhappy, I am, with Russia, but we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. It can be more simple. It's just the way it is. I hope we don't have to do it.
Natasha, this couldn't be more different to when we saw the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in that same seat as Mark Rutte, when we saw the anger that came from President Donald Trump, saying that Ukraine didn't have all the cards, that it was on the brink of World War III. And now here we have the US president saying the deal is done. He is sending those weapons, and Ukraine will get what it needs to fight Russia.
Anna, you're so right. I was having the same thought listening to President Trump. What a change in tone in terms of what we saw with the Ukrainian president just a few months ago. Let's talk about Mark Rutte. Any further things you want to address about what we heard from him?
Well, look, just to reiterate, I mean, Mark Rutte did say that he's spoken to a number of different countries. He mentioned Germany, he mentioned Canada as well, saying that they were in agreement with this. And he said it really is good news for Ukraine. Look, the Europeans have been very stuck in terms of the support that they wanted to get for Ukraine. We've heard a lot of talk. There's been a huge amount of meetings of the so-called coalition of the willing, which of course includes Canada. But this does seem to be a point at which something different has been done. Take a listen to Mark Rutte.
This is really big. This is really big. You called me on Thursday that you had taken a decision. And the decision is that you want Ukraine what it needs to have to maintain, to be able to defend itself against Russia, but you do want Europeans to pay for it, which is totally logical. And this is building on the tremendous success of the NATO summit.
So look, Natasha, you have got this deal done. The US is now going to sell weapons to NATO countries who will then give them for use in Ukraine. Russia now has a deadline of 50 days or it will face 100% tariffs. I think the question now is, how is the Kremlin going to react? And will we hear from the Russian President, Vladimir Putin?
And we will absolutely be listening for that reaction. CBC's Anna Cunningham in London. Thank you so much, Anna.